My brother told everyone I was mentally ill to steal my apartment, so I sued him for defamation and left him jobless and homeless. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and my brother has always been the golden child. Even when we were kids, it was like he had a spotlight on him that never dimmed. Liam was everything my parents wanted in a child: tall, athletic, charming. He scored goals at every school match and had this easy, effortless way of making people like him. Teachers praised him. Neighbors adored him. And my parents? They practically worshipped him, me? I was the quiet one. I liked books, drawing, sitting alone with my thoughts. I wasn't flashy or funny. I didn't know how to work a room the way Liam did. I was the kid who remembered birthdays and made homemade cards. The one who cleaned up after dinner without being asked. But none of that ever seemed to matter. When Liam shoved me down the stairs once during an argument, I ended up with a bruised hip and teary eyes. My mom's first words? Don't be so dramatic. When he stole money from my dad's wallet, they laughed and said, "Boys will be boys." But if I forgot to do the dishes after school, suddenly I was irresponsible, lazy, and disrespectful. The worst part was how often they said I was too sensitive, like my feelings were a character flaw. Like I was defective. I started to doubt myself early on, thinking maybe they were right. Maybe I was the problem. Liam would flash that smile, get away with everything, and still have the nerve to look at me like I was pathetic for even trying. And every time I cried, every time I tried to stand up for myself, my parents would roll their eyes like I was just trying to steal attention from him. I didn't know it then, but that dynamic, me being dismissed and him being glorified, would shape everything that came next. And I was about to learn just how far Liam would go to protect the pedestal he'd been placed on. When I signed the lease on my first apartment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: freedom. It wasn't much. Just a one-bedroom walk-up with creaky floors and chipped tiles in the kitchen. But it was mine. No more walking on eggshells around Liam's ego. No more fake smiles at family dinners. Just quiet, control, and a space where I could finally exhale without feeling like I was taking up too much room. I'd worked hard for it. Waitressing double shifts, freelancing on the side, skipping vacations, and saying no to anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. And after years of living like a guest in my own life, I finally had a key that unlocked something more than just a door. It unlocked peace. When I told my parents, my mom blinked in surprise and asked, "How can you even afford that on your salary?" My dad chimed in, half joking, "Are you sure it's safe for someone like you to live alone?" They said they were proud, but it felt more like suspicion wrapped in a smile. Liam, of course, made it worse. He stopped by a few days after I moved in, uninvited, and looked around like he was appraising the place. He ran his fingers across the countertops and said, "Not bad. Didn't know you had it in you." Like my stability was some sort of cosmic error. Then he added, "You're not going to turn into one of those weird cat ladies, are you?" I laughed it off, but something in his tone didn't sit right. Looking back, I should have known that the minute I had something of my own, something he didn't control, he wouldn't leave it alone. Liam didn't just envy me having a place. He resented it, and he was already thinking about how to take it. At first, it was small things. Liam would text me late at night saying he was in the neighborhood and wanted to check in. He'd show up with takeout or beer like he was doing me some kind of favor, but I never asked for company, especially not his. He always found a way to criticize something. "You don't get much sunlight in here, huh?" Kind of cramped but cozy for someone like you. "You sure you're okay staying here alone?" The way he said it wasn't concern. It was condescension wrapped in fake brotherly care. Then it escalated. He started telling my parents that I looked pale, that I was off. One night he told them I was talking to myself, laughing at nothing. I found out when Mom called and asked gently, "Sweetheart, are you sleeping enough? You're not, seeing things, are you?" I thought it was just a weird conversation. Brushed it off. But then a family friend I hadn't seen in months messaged me out of nowhere and said, "Hey, just checking in. Liam mentioned you've been having a rough time. Hope you're getting the help you need." That's when the pit in my stomach started to form. I realized he wasn't just making offhand comments, he was building a narrative. One where I was unstable, fragile, unfit, and the more I denied it, the more it seemed to confirm his lie. He was smart like that, subtle, calculated. He didn't need to prove anything, just plant enough doubt that people started second-guessing me. And suddenly, I felt like a stranger in my own skin. I started watching the way I spoke, questioning my tone, wondering if I did seem off. Liam wasn't just invading my space. He was starting to take over my reality. It wasn't long before my parents showed up at my apartment, unannounced. They brought groceries like it was a casual visit, but I could feel the heaviness the second they walked in. My mom's eyes scanned the room like she was looking for evidence. My dad sat on the edge of the couch like he didn't want to get too comfortable. Then she said it. "We're concerned about you." I asked what that meant. She hesitated, then said Liam had told them I hadn't been going to work, that I was isolating, forgetting things, maybe even hearing voices. I stared at her, stunned. "That's not true," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I work from home. I just don't tell Liam every time I blink," but they didn't believe me. My dad spoke next, low and deliberate. "Sweetheart, sometimes it's hard to see when something's wrong. That's why people around us step in." Step in? They weren't stepping in. They were stomping over me. Then came the suggestion that I see someone, just to rule things out. Maybe talk to a doctor. Maybe take a break from living alone. My mom leaned in and said, "You could always come stay in the guest room. Or let Liam handle things for a while. He's willing to take the pressure off your hands." Pressure? I blinked at her, trying not to scream. My apartment, my life, was being painted as some burden I couldn't carry. And Liam? The same guy planting these lies? He was being offered my keys. I told them I was fine. That they were being ridiculous. They exchanged a look. One of those patronizing, she doesn't know what's good for her looks. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. They trusted Liam's version of me more than they trusted me. After that visit, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, even when I was alone. Things started going missing. Small things at first. My mail was opened and resealed. My skincare products would be moved from the bathroom to the kitchen counter. I'd wake up to find the front door slightly ajar, even though I was sure I locked it. I started to doubt myself. Was I misplacing things? Forgetting? Losing track of time? That's exactly what Liam wanted. But I wasn't crazy. I was being gaslit. So I bought a $30 hidden camera off Amazon and tucked it between the books on my shelf, angled toward the front door. What I saw 3 nights later made my blood go cold. Liam had a copy of my key. He let himself in at 2:13 a.m., moved through the apartment like he owned it. Went through my drawers, picked up my journal, opened my fridge. Then he walked into my bedroom, stood at the foot of my bed for almost a full minute, just watching me sleep, and then left. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I called him. No pleasantries. Just, "I know what you did," he laughed. "What are you talking about?" "I have it on video." He went quiet, then scoffed. "You must have dreamed it. Maybe you think you saw something." It was the boldness that floored me. He knew, and he didn't care. I told my parents, showed them the footage. You know what they said? "He was just worried about you. Worried." That word again. I had video evidence of my brother breaking into my home, invading my privacy, standing over me in the dead of night. And they still found a way to make me the unstable one. I started to realize I wasn't just fighting Liam. I was fighting the entire story he'd already written about me. A week after showing them the video, my parents came over again. Not to apologize. Not to acknowledge how sick and violating Liam's behavior had been. They came with an ultimatum. I remember the way my mom sat on the edge of my couch, hands folded in her lap like she was holding onto some fragile illusion of control. My dad stood behind her, arms crossed, jaw clenched. "Sweetheart," she began, soft and fake, "we think it's time you took a little break." From all of this, I stared at her. "All of what?" "You're clearly overwhelmed," she said. "You're paranoid, setting up cameras in your own home. That's not normal. We're worried." There it was again. Worried. That word had become a noose. Then my dad added, "We've spoken to a lawyer. If you don't agree to have someone take over your affairs temporarily, we may have to take legal action. For your safety." My heart dropped. My stomach turned. "Wait, are you saying you'd try to get conservatorship over me?" They didn't answer directly. Instead, my mom reached into her bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Just look this over. Liam's willing to take over the lease just until you get help. I felt the blood rush out of my face. He wanted my apartment. That's what this had always been about. The concern, the visits, the lies, they were all steps toward this moment. Gaslight me until I questioned myself. Get my parents on board. Paint me as unwell. Take my home. I looked them both in the eye and said, "You're not helping me. You're erasing me." But I was alone. No one to fight with me. Just 3 people who already decided who I was. I signed the paper, not because I believed them, but because I was tired, scared, and outnumbered. 3 days after signing the paper, I came home from work and my key didn't fit the lock. I jiggled it. Tried again, checked the door number like maybe I was losing my mind, but no. It was my door. My apartment. My name still on the mail. Then I saw it. A note taped to the door in Liam's handwriting. "Don't panic. This is temporary. You need rest. I'll keep the place safe." I felt the walls close in. I tried calling him straight to voicemail. Tried calling my parents, no answer. I even banged on the door, screamed his name, threatened to call the cops. A neighbor peeked out of her door and asked if I was okay. No, I wasn't. I ended up driving around that night with nowhere to go. I sat in my car in a grocery store parking lot, trying not to cry too loud. I had a few changes of clothes in my trunk and a half-empty bottle of water. That was it. Around midnight, I finally called my mom. Her voice was calm, rehearsed. "This is for your own good, honey. Just let Liam handle things for now. Focus on getting well." "I'm not sick," I whispered. She didn't respond, just told me to get some rest and hung up. That night, I slept in my car, alone, confused, and worse, erased. Everything I'd worked for, sacrificed for, my space, my sanity, my freedom, was gone. Not because I failed, but because someone decided I didn't deserve it. And the worst part? No one cared. They'd rewritten the story. I was the fragile girl who lost control. And Liam? The noble brother who saved her. I was still breathing. But it felt like I didn't exist anymore. I don't even remember texting her. It was probably some half-delirious message I sent from the parking lot at 3 a.m. But the next morning, my old college friend Maya called me. I hadn't spoken to her in over a year. "You okay?" she asked, her voice sharp with concern. "Your message didn't make sense." "Are you safe?" I broke down right there in the car. Told her everything, halting, scattered, ugly truths spilling out faster than I could control them. She didn't say much at first, just listened. And when I finished, she said something that cracked the numbness in me. "This is illegal, you know." I blinked. "What?" "Unlawful eviction, defamation, coercion. What your brother's doing, what your parents are enabling, isn't just messed up. It's criminal." Maya wasn't just a good friend. She was in her final year of law school. And unlike everyone else in my life, she didn't treat me like I was fragile or confused. She treated me like someone who'd been wronged. She told me to come stay with her, no questions, no strings. She even drove across town that afternoon to meet me at the parking lot where I'd spent the night. When I got in her car, I didn't even realize how cold I was until I felt the heater against my skin. At her apartment, she gave me sweats, fed me soup, and pulled out her laptop. "Tell me everything," she said. "We're going to build a case." That night, we started documenting. Every voicemail, every text, every memory I had of Liam sneaking around or spinning lies. She helped me email my building manager, request a copy of the surveillance footage, and schedule a session with a therapist. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel crazy. For the first time in years, someone believed me, and now we had a plan. Within days, Maya connected me with a civil litigation attorney who agreed to take my case after hearing just the basics. He sat across from me in a warm office filled with dusty law books and said, "I've seen some messed up family disputes, but this is one of the dirtiest. We got to work immediately." First step, reestablish my mental competency. I wasn't just trying to get my apartment back. I was fighting to reclaim my name. My therapist, who I'd been seeing virtually for anxiety and burnout, wrote a full assessment confirming I had no history of hallucinations, delusions, or instability. In fact, she documented that I'd been gaslit and manipulated by my family. Next, we compiled everything. Texts where Liam talked about my episodes, the footage of him entering my apartment uninvited, the voicemail from my mom implying they were taking over for my own good, and the lease document I'd been pressured into signing under false pretenses. Then came the letter. A formal cease and desist was sent to Liam. It demanded he vacate the apartment immediately, return access to me, and refrain from making any further defamatory statements. It was also CC'd to my building manager and my parents. His response? A 2-word text. Nice try. That was all I needed to know. He didn't think I'd fight back. He didn't believe I had the courage or the proof. And deep down, he still thought he could gaslight his way out of consequences. But this time, I wasn't alone. This time, I had backup. A team, receipts, legal firepower. And for the first time in my life, he was the one who should be afraid, because I wasn't just coming back for my apartment, I was coming back for the truth. Liam wasn't done, not by a long shot. After getting the cease and desist letter, he switched tactics. He couldn't legally hold on to the apartment much longer, so instead, he tried to destroy my credibility from the inside out. He started spreading rumors online. He posted vague, anonymous messages in local Facebook groups and Reddit threads. Things like, "Be careful renting to emotionally unstable tenants," and "Some people fake mental wellness better than others." He even hinted that I'd been violent with him, that he feared for his safety. And then he crossed a line I didn't see coming. He sent an anonymous email to my employer. It accused me of erratic behavior, paranoia, and concerning signs of mental decline. It claimed I'd shown up intoxicated on Zoom meetings and was at risk of harming myself or others. The email was signed a concerned family member, but my HR manager, a no-nonsense woman named Carla, called me the same day. "We take these messages seriously," she said, "but we also did some checking." Turns out Liam wasn't as clever as he thought. He'd sent the email from a burner Gmail account, but didn't realize he was logged into the Wi-Fi at our parents' house. The metadata traced back to their IP. I felt my breath hitch when Carla said, "We know this was malicious. We're not taking action against you, we're documenting this in your favor." It was like a crack in the wall, proof that someone else finally saw what I'd been living through. And best of all, my lawyer added it straight to our case file. Every lie Liam told, every cruel smear, was becoming evidence. He'd set out to destroy me, but all he did was build the case that would eventually destroy him. Liam wasn't just losing control, he was unraveling. After the HR debacle, word started getting around. My lawyer made sure the defamation suit wasn't just quiet paperwork, it was loud. Legal letters went out to my landlord, my employer, and yes, my parents. Suddenly the narrative shifted, and people started asking questions. My aunt called, confused. "Why is Liam being sued? What's going on?" When I told her the truth, her voice cracked. "But your parents said you were sick." That's when I realized Liam didn't just lie to my parents. He'd poisoned the entire family tree. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I asked for a family meeting. It was a Zoom call, 8 rectangles on a screen. Aunts, uncles, cousins. My parents, Liam, me. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just shared the evidence, calmly. The footage of Liam entering my apartment without permission. The messages where he described my mental breakdowns. The email traced back to their IP. The cease and desist. The therapist's letter. The retaliation attempt against my job. Then I said one sentence that I'll never forget. "You all believed him. Now I want you to believe me, Slant." My cousin muted herself and cried. My uncle looked down and shook his head. And my parents? My mother whispered, "I didn't know it had gone that far." But she didn't apologize. Liam logged off mid-call. That was the first time the cracks showed. The golden child mask? Slipping. People weren't just uncomfortable, they were ashamed. He'd always relied on the benefit of the doubt. But now, no one was giving it to him anymore. The illusion was gone. And for the first time, the family saw who he really was. The courtroom wasn't anything like the dramas on TV. No shouting, no slamming gavels. Just muted colors, polite formality, and cold, clinical truth. But it was the most powerful room I'd ever stood in. Liam showed up late, wearing a wrinkled suit and false confidence. No lawyer, just himself, smug and dismissive like it was all some misunderstanding. My lawyer didn't flinch. He had everything in order. Timelines, screenshots, statements, expert evaluations. We didn't need drama. We had evidence. The judge asked if I was mentally unstable or had ever been diagnosed. My therapist provided direct testimony. No, never. In fact, she noted clear signs of psychological abuse when we presented the video of Liam in my apartment at 2:13 a.m. entering, without permission and standing over me as I slept. There was a visible shift in the room. Even the judge leaned forward, then came the emails. The fake online rumors. The attempt to get me fired. Each piece painted a clear picture. Liam had built a coordinated campaign to destroy my credibility, take over my property, and erase my autonomy, and he almost succeeded. When Liam tried to defend himself, he stammered. Said he was just trying to help, said I'd been spiraling. The judge interrupted, "Did you falsify information to her employer?" Liam went silent. In the end, the ruling was swift. Defamation, harassment, unlawful eviction, emotional distress. The court ordered him to pay damages. He lost access to the apartment. I was granted full legal control over the lease and property. My record was cleared. My name restored, but the biggest blow? The ruling was public, and his employer, who had quietly been watching the proceedings, terminated him for cause within the week. His golden child shield shattered. His lies turned against him, and for once, justice wasn't just a word, it was something I could finally feel. Liam's fall was faster than I ever imagined. Within days of the court ruling, his company cut ties. The HR department sent him a one-line email. Due to recent legal findings, your contract is terminated effective immediately. That was it. No goodbyes. No exit interviews. Just silence. I heard through the grapevine that he tried applying for jobs at other firms in the same industry, but word spreads fast. The public court documents followed him. The phrase "found guilty of defamation and harassment" tends to stick, especially in fields where trust matters. As for housing, he had none. He'd sublet his old apartment while staying at mine, assuming he'd be there indefinitely. But now that he'd been evicted by court order, he had nowhere to go. He showed up at my parents' house, tail between his legs, and for the first time in his life. They didn't welcome him in. "We can't get involved anymore," my dad told him, trying to save face with the rest of the family. Mom, who used to baby him, barely opened the door. Maybe she was embarrassed. Maybe she just couldn't look at him without seeing what she'd enabled. And me? I didn't respond to his texts. Yes, he tried reaching out, first with guilt. "I didn't mean to hurt you." Then with desperation, "I have nowhere to go." And finally with anger, "You've ruined my life." "No, Liam, you ruined your own life. All I did was stop letting you ruin mine." Last I heard, he was couch hopping between old friends, most of whom were now distant or busy. The golden boy was now just a burden, and it turns out without lies, without charm, without control, he had nothing left. For the first time, he was the one watching the world move on without him. You'd think after everything, after the trial, the exposure, the collapse, someone would say, sorry. But no, Liam never apologized. Not once. Not for breaking into my home. Not for lying to my employer. Not for trying to convince the world I was insane just so he could take what I built. The closest he came was a half-hearted text that said, "I was just trying to protect you from yourself." As if that made it noble. As if destroying my life was some kind of favor. And my parents? They didn't say sorry either. They shifted. That's the best way I can describe it. They stopped talking about what happened, pretended like it was behind us. At family gatherings, they'd ask how work was going, or if I was dating anyone, but they never said, "We were wrong." Not once did they acknowledge the role they played, their silence, their doubt, their willingness to hand me over like damaged goods. I used to think I needed an apology, that if they just said, "We're sorry, we believe you now," the ache would go away. But the truth is, I don't need it anymore. I stopped asking for closure from people who benefit from pretending nothing happened. I built boundaries instead. Polite distance. Controlled contact. I stopped sharing details. Stopped seeking validation. I let the silence speak for itself because I realized something deeply painful, but freeing. Some people would rather protect a lie than admit they betrayed you, and Chasing an apology from them is like screaming into a void that only echoes back your pain. So I stopped screaming. I stopped waiting. And I started living for myself, not as their daughter, not as Liam's sister, but as me. Finally whole, finally heard, finally free. With the settlement money, I did something small but monumental. I bought myself a new set of keys. Not to the old apartment. That place was tainted by shadows and memories I didn't need to carry. I found a new space. Bigger, brighter, and all mine. Sunlight poured through the windows. The walls were bare when I moved in, but they felt like a blank canvas. No ghosts, no games, no gaslighting, just me. I repainted the living room soft blue. Adopted a rescue dog I named Juniper, loyal, quiet, and full of love. I filled the kitchen with spices and music. I slept with the door unlocked for the first time in years because now, no one had a key but me. I started going back to therapy regularly. Not because I was broken, but because I was healing. And healing isn't quiet. It's messy. It's rage and tears and rediscovering who you are beneath everyone else's story. I picked up painting again. I'd stopped years ago when Liam said my art was just a hobby, not worth wasting time on. But now my apartment walls are covered in color, my story. And for the first time, I wasn't apologizing for taking up space. I wasn't afraid of being alone anymore. I'd spent so long letting people define me, what I was capable of, what I deserved, what I wasn't. But now, I decide that Liam may have taken months of my life, and my parents may never give me what I needed, but they don't get to define the ending. I bought my freedom back, and this time, I made damn sure no one could ever take it from me again. If you're listening to this and someone's been trying to convince you that you're unstable, overreacting, or just imagining things, please believe me when I say you are not crazy. Gaslighting isn't always loud. Sometimes it comes in whispers, in concerned smiles, in soft hands that pull the rug out from under you while pretending to offer support. Sometimes it's not strangers, it's your own blood, your parents, your siblings, the people who are supposed to protect you. They tell you you're broken, when really, you're just inconvenient. I spent years thinking something was wrong with me, that I was the problem because I felt too much, questioned too much, remembered too much. I believed that maybe if I could just be better, quieter, easier, they'd finally love me right. But the truth? They didn't want a daughter. They wanted someone to absorb their guilt and carry their silence. They didn't want a sister. They wanted a scapegoat, and I gave them that for a long time. Until I didn't. If someone's trying to take your voice, your space, your truth, don't wait for them to hand it back. Take it. Document everything. Build your support system, even if it's just one person, one friend, one thread of hope. You don't need a crowd to believe you. You just need to start believing yourself. Because healing isn't about getting the apology. It's about finally trusting that you were right all along. That what happened to you was wrong. That what they did was abuse. And that your story, your truth, deserves to exist outside their version of events. I didn't get revenge. I got clarity. I got peace. And sometimes, that's the most powerful thing you can walk away with, because when they can't control you anymore, they call you crazy. But when you finally walk away, they can't call you at all.